welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over a Veil artifact deck, and the key card of the deck is going to be Veil Assimilation. This is one of the newer archetypes from the latest set that has come out for the Phyrexians, and basically this deck is going to play all artifacts. I believe I have, yeah, 100% artifacts except for one card, and we'll get into that. But yeah, basically anytime you put another artifact on the field, the target creature you control gets 1+1 in vigilance until the end of the turn. Doesn't seem like it's that crazy in the beginning, but there are some ways that you can kind of just keep the board under control, and that's what this deck is about, is maintaining the board state and just kind of keep your control so your opponent doesn't really get to do much. But you also can attack in, and I'm going to show you some of the things we got here. You have the Zenith Chronicler. This is something you're going to put out early in the game, turn two obviously, and you're going to let that sit there so that way they want to remove it, or if they don't have creatures earlier in the game, you can get a little aggressive and get in 3 damage until they do remove it, or you could actually just let it sit on the field and hopefully a lot of people are playing multicolored spells, so you get to draw a card if they play any multicolored spells. And we play it safe by not playing many multicolored spells. In this deck, we only have one, which I'll get into that in a few. Next, you have Patchplate Resolute. This is really good for just keeping your creatures at a decent size while you're building up, because you're not staying on the 2 drops for too long. You're going to try to move up and up and up. This deck just really wants to continuously build the field where it's harder to break it down and come back from over time the longer the game goes. So with this, you're going to definitely get a 1+1 counter when it hits the field. Whenever this card leaves the field, doesn't matter how it's leave, whether it's exiled or not, you're going to leave another boon that will allow you to get 1+1 counter. And if you don't know what this card does specifically from me reading it, you will have to watch to see how that plays out. It is pretty good. Now we have Urza's Construction Drone. This card can be really good as long as you're dedicating yourself to playing more artifacts, because you are going to be drawing a lot of artifact mines, well, colorless lands like this because of the card. And this is specifically to help us ramp up to the portal of Phyrexia. So the more of these lands we get, these Urza power plant towers and mine, that is technically you're expecting within 3 turns, which would be turn 6, you can play your Portal to Phyrexia. Alright, there are other ways to get Portal of Phyrexia out quicker or quickly, but in this deck, the way that we want to play it, we're just controlling the board, and by the time we're ready to get the Phyrexia out, this should help us pretty much seal the game once we sacrifice their stuff. Alright, so to maintain board control of really dangerous cards, you want to specifically use this to get rid of larger creatures or enchantments or planeswalkers that you cannot deal with any other way, because your creatures should be able to manage blocking smaller creatures, and your creatures are okay to die too. You're okay if most of your creatures get destroyed, so that doesn't matter. But when there's creatures that are too large to attack over, you can't block them because they're flying or they have trample, all these other things, this is when you're going to use the static net. Now this is the only card that is not an artifact in the deck, and that's okay, because what static net does is, I have to think ahead with this, it creates a tap power stone token. So when you drop the static net, let me show you the way this could go. Veil of Assimilation, let's say turn 2, you get a Urza's Construction Drone turn 3. Turn 4, you're going to remove one of their creatures out of the way, and then Urza Construction Drone is going to get a 1+1 Vigilance because of the Power Stone that was here, and the Veil of Assimilation. It's all just combos that start going into play here once you do this. So that way, you're gaining life, you're creating Power Stone tokens, which these Power Stone tokens, like I said, are going to help you ramp up to the portal of Phyrexia. So all of it synergizes. Even though this is not an artifact, you do need some type of removal, obviously, to deal with threats. Is not just creatures, but any permanent threats on the field. So that's what that is for. And then you have the tech card in here. Well, actually, Zenith Chronicler would technically be a tech card, but Cephalopod you could count as a tech/combo card as well. This is just going to buff it up. This is going to give you a way to do consistent damage over time and just makes it where they have to destroy this creature because it's a flyer. And since every permanent you put down the field, we're making sure we're playing mostly permanents, well, all permanents. That's why you see there's no instants and sorceries in the deck. You want all permanents so that Cephalopod is increased by whatever board state you can maintain. You should be good to hold down the board no matter what they've got, unless they get some death touches on the field, like your the Shield Dread. You use it, save this for like Shield Dreads or Planeswalker stuff like that. Other than that, you should be able to maintain the board state. Then you have Dollhouse of Horrors. Haven't seen anyone use this card in a long time since it came out a couple of sets ago. But this card actually has a ton of synergy with this specific type of deck because why? We know that Dollhouse of Horrors can help you create your copies of your creature cards in the graveyard, which all of these creatures are really good. They're also going to help you with Veil of Assimilation effects. Playing Dollhouse of Horrors gives you Veil of Assimilation effect. Using Dollhouse of Horror effect is going to give you the Simulation effect as well if you're putting any of these back on the field. Also, the other thing is the creatures that you summon, the token that you summon is going to get 1+1 for each construct you control. The perfect thing about this is, look, Phyrexian construct. This is a Phyrexian construct. This is a construct. This is a construct. We didn't even get to that yet. This is a construct. So almost all of the creatures, almost, except for two, almost all the creatures are constructs in the game. So it means that the likelihood you're going to get some more 1+1 action going on is very high since most of your creatures are constructs. So perfect synergy with the deck. Great for comeback plays or finishing off the game depending on your board state. Great to help you combo into some other things. Next, we have Warzone Duplicator, and this card can show out in the deck depending on the situations, depending on the matchups. If you're playing against some mid-range creatures or small creatures that really you need to kind of control the board with, this is going to help you do it right in the middle of the game. You got turn 4. If you play this on turn 4, it's going to be a 3/3, and it can return anything that has 3 or less power. Well, actually, it has to have less power. So it has to have 2 or less power for Warzone Duplicator to return it back to the hand, and you're going to copy that creature that you return back to your opponent's hand. So that keeps the cards in your hand too if you start running out of cards. And since you can target specifically what you need, you may be able to copy something that sets your deck off, sets this deck off very well in combo. So we'll have to see how this works once we start playing with it more. Now, if you manage to wait all the way until turn 6 to play this, then you can return creatures that have 5 or less attack to your opponent's hand, and that could be really big as well. So this is just your other way besides the static net that you're going to use to control the board, keep them from rushing you down. And even when you do the Dollhouse of Horrors with this, it actually will usually get a good boost from the construct effect because it's a construct plus you'll probably have another creature on the field, so it usually makes it a 3/3 even when you Dollhouse of Horrors it, so still helps you control the field that way. Next we have Combat Thresher. This is just a good blocker and it's card draw. That's all this is. This is something to keep you from dying until you build up your field. There are ways to actually make this an offensive threat as well since it has double strike. Imagine the Veil of Assimilation effects going off. You can use them to target your Combat Thresher so you can boost the attack and make this a double strike with Vigilance card. A lot of times it may play this on turn 3. Since we have a lot of 3-drops in the deck, you usually can hold off to play this on turn 7, but turn 3 is not a bad choice as well. And last but not least, you have the Portal for Phyrexia, which is our helping us in the game combo or card. And we know what it does. It makes you sacrifice. It makes the opponent sacrifice 3 of their creatures. So usually they probably won't have a lot of small creatures left with this type of deck because you're already controlling the board. But if they do, unfortunately, they're going to sacrifice their smaller creatures. However, that does clear the field for you to make it a little bit easier to attack by this time you get there. And then, at the beginning of your upkeep each turn, you can bring a card back from a graveyard. And usually, even though you can bring back one of their powerful creatures, you may just bring back one of your artifacts instead, just because it synergizes with Veil of Assimilation. So it still benefits you to bring back your own creatures in this deck as well. Alright, so that is the artifact deck, and we're gonna get right into it. We actually got 3 of those in there. But yeah, let's go ahead and play with it so you can see one of the archetypes that was created specifically in this format, where you just want to control the board using artifacts, and white blue is definitely that color archetype that was created to do such a thing. So jumping right into it, playing Alchemy. And we got Barbator. Alright, so we got 3 lands, so we're just going to go ahead and start and take this. We got a perfect tempo to start out, where we've got Zenith Chronicler into Patchplate, and then you can go Warzone Duplicator if you need it. Alright, so they got white and green. Let's see if they have any multicolored. And we won't block the Orator, because we need to keep the Zenith Chronicler on field, or we could use it for damage. We don't really want to use it for blocks unless it's dire, or we need to get rid of something that's just as good as Chronicler. So he's probably looking at it thinking, okay, and he plays a multicolor card. Yep. Right, perfect. And he could attack there, but I guess he really needs that life. Alright, so we got our blockers. This is the way it's supposed to be set up. We control the board where you don't really want to attack into these things, just because they're just good. They have good stats. Wandering Emperor. That's perfect. We're going to go ahead and static net that. He doesn't have a lot he can do here on his turn. Plus that, make it first strike.
How we greet our enemies. See you later.
And we'll just hold the board. No need to attack right now. I could have attacked, honestly, because I want to get a 2-for-1 trade if I do it. I want to be a little greedy. So we're going to wait. Draw another card. So we're going to send that back to the hand. I'm going to take that because we gain 2 life in static net, so I feel confident. Enters tapped unless you control 2 or fewer, so we gotta be careful with that. Let's see. Well, we can do that now because we're going to play this duplicator. Wait, we can do the 6 duplicator. So yeah, that's perfect. Play the duplicator for 6 thanks to that Power Stone token. Get the 1+1 counter, so that helps the duplicator even come out stronger, which means technically banish bigger monsters. So he's going to help me draw another card. This is a bad matchup for him. See, a lot of people are going to play multicolor cards, so if we overdraw, that's fine. We want as many options as possible. Yeah, help us build up to our Portal to Phyrexia. He can't really attack, but we don't know what else he's going to play in his deck, so we got to be careful. We got 6 mana. So what we're going to do here, we're going to play our good cards now. Play our Veil. Right? So yeah, it would be great to have a flyer here, so that's why I got that other artifact in here. I'm gonna draw another card. Definitely a bad matchup. We're gonna keep the static net until we actually need it. Nothing on the field is very threatening right now, so we can just kind of hold the field. like I was saying. We got the power plant. Fortunate for him, we're gonna do this again. Take that back to hand. Okay, does he have something with hexproof on it? Yeah, he quits because he can't attack. So that's the way the match is built. I mean, the deck is built. It's built to keep the board under control. Granted, I don't know, he probably didn't draw his good stuff, but the fact that we were able to continuously get cards as well from just him playing his spells that he needed to play. He didn't have a lot of options on what he could play. You saw that was giving us an advantage where we had all the options in the world. So we're going to try another matchup and see how this goes. Alright, so luckily, since we have artifacts, it makes it a little bit easier to play even when you don't get the right lands. Still would be perfect to get a Veil of Assimilation out. Alright, so my deck likes me. That's good. And we're going to go Urza. Urza on the next turn. So this could be a little bit harder because he could do life gain, but we do have ways to return creatures back to the hand. So if he gets the threatening creatures out, we should be able to control the board. Oh, that's bad. We got 2 Portals of Phyrexia early on. So that is not good. We're going to go ahead and attack with Urza too, because that's going to keep our lands flowing to our hand. And blocking's fine too. Blocking is fine with Urza if you need to. Alright. So we're going to attack first just because. Actually, no, it just makes more sense. It just makes more sense to do it this way. To stay on tempo with the land. Because we're going to get Thresher out, draw a card. We can put some pressure on the attack, where he's going to have to trade 2 cards probably, maybe 3. And then I still get the land from the Urza's Construction Zone. Because we got the Portal to Phyrexia's in hand. We need to make sure we get as many lands on each play as possible. So that's fine, we get 2 lands now. So exactly what I was looking for. I need to pressure him into doing that. So that's better than him destroying the Veil of Assimilation. He could have done that instead. Alright, so I really need to get the Warzone Duplicator out onto this thing before it gets out of hand. Or I can static net it, but yeah, I'm gonna have to static net it actually. Which this is perfect though. Because what this is gonna do is puts me at 5, 6 mana. Because of the Power Stone token. And he's gonna protect it. And so I could still Soaring City it too, if I need to. I've got 5, 6, we're going to be at 7 land. So that's at 6. It's fine, we're going to slow it down a little bit. Yeah, we're going to do this. Alright, so Now we want him to commit, and then we'll Otawara the voice. Yeah, he'll commit his mana, commit cards to the board. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to portal Phyrexia, the Voice of the Blessed, but we may not need to at that point. Alright, so this guarantees the portal Phyrexia, but he's got a lot of creatures. We try to keep control of the field for as long as possible. Let's see what he got. Granted, we are going to do 2 portal Phyrexias. Okay, so that was the perfect farewell. I'll give him that. And it was perfect because he got to exile all artifacts, so he just had a good matchup right there. So that's going to be game just because he had a good matchup. My creatures were all artifacts, so he could farewell them.